poor housemaid was fired, but years later she came back as a millionaire.
The villagers still talk about the girl who used to sweep Madame Agatha's mansion floors barefoot. Her name was Amara, a quiet, skinny housemaid with dusty braids and downcast eyes. She never spoke back, never complained, and always smiled, no matter how cruelly she was treated. Every morning before sunrise, she'd walk for miles just to arrive early. But no matter how hard she worked, Madame Agatha always found something to scold her for. "You think your pity face will get you anything in life? You're just a broom with legs," she'd hiss. What no one knew was that Amara had a secret. Every night, after washing dishes, she would sneak into the guest library, read silently in the dark, learning about the world outside their gates. But one day, everything changed. One broken vase, one lie, one cruel decision. That morning, Amara accidentally knocked over a porcelain vase while rushing to clean the sitting room. It wasn't her fault. Madame's dog had chased her across the hall, but no one cared to listen. Madame Agatha stormed in, red-faced with fury. "You worthless rat! This vase cost more than your miserable life!" she screamed, slapping Amara across the cheek. The other maids stood in silence. Some looked away, some smirked. Then Madame made it official. "Pack your rags and leave. I never want to see your cursed face again." Amara picked up her torn slippers, held back tears, and walked out. No money, no goodbye, no second chance. But what Madame didn't know was that broken vase didn't destroy Amara. It ignited her. Amara walked through the dusty road that led away from the mansion, holding only a cloth bag and the sting of humiliation. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just walked, head high, heart pounding. She found shelter in the back of a bakery, where the old owner, Mama Chica, allowed her to sleep on flour sacks. In exchange, Amara cleaned the ovens and scrubbed the floors, just like before. Only this time, someone finally noticed her. Mama Chica saw how Amara borrowed old newspapers to read at night by candlelight. She'd whisper, "This girl isn't ordinary." One evening, Mama handed Amara a dusty tablet someone had left behind. "You're hungry for knowledge. Feed yourself with this." And so began the next chapter. Amara wasn't just working anymore. She was building, learning, preparing. What happened to her next, you won't believe. Don't miss what Amara becomes in the next part. Her real story is just beginning. Amara devoured every word on that tablet. While other girls chased lovers, she chased lessons. Business blogs, online courses, tutorials about baking, branding, saving. Mama Chica started trusting her more. Within a year, Amara wasn't just scrubbing pans. She was managing supplies, talking to customers, handling orders. She had an eye for detail. She added flavors, made flyers, convinced Mama to deliver bread to nearby schools. Sales doubled. Customers returned not just for the bread, but for Amara's quiet smile and steady hands. Then tragedy struck. Mama Chica fell sick. On her deathbed, she held Amara's hand and said, "You turned my bakery into a name. Now turn your name into something bigger." And just like that, Amara became her own boss. But that was only the beginning of a journey no one expected from a barefoot housemaid. Amara renamed the bakery Flame Loaf, a symbol of survival. She didn't have much, but she had strategy. She offered, buy one, give one free to school kids. She added handwritten thank you notes in every bag. Within months, her tiny shop became a neighborhood name. She saved every coin, woke at 4 a.m., slept at midnight, no distractions, just purpose. A local journalist stumbled upon her store and wrote an article, From Housemaid to Hope, the Girl Behind the Oven. The story went viral, and for the first time, investors came knocking. Small offers, big promises. But Amara wasn't just a worker anymore. She was a thinker, a builder. She said no to fast money. She said yes to building slow wealth. And somewhere, far away in her golden mansion, Madame Agatha had no idea that the maid she once fired was building an empire of her own. 3 years passed. Flameloaf expanded to 5 branches. Amara moved into a modest apartment, hired 3 girls from the slum she grew up in, and secretly funded a literacy program for housemaids. But one rainy Tuesday, the past came tapping. A tall woman entered the bakery, her clothes elegant but soaked. She looked around, unimpressed. "Do you have anything gluten-free?" she asked. Amara stepped forward and froze. It was Clara, Madame Agatha's niece, older now, but still carrying that look of superiority. Clara didn't recognize Amara. "I'll take whatever's expensive," Clara snapped. "My aunt's birthday is tomorrow. She hates cheap things." Amara's lips curled into the faintest smile. She packed the most luxurious cake she had, wrote no name, just a note. "From the one you fired without looking back." Then she handed it over, calm, confident, silent. The next evening, the Agatha estate lit up in golden lights for her 60th birthday. Silk dresses, loud laughter, glittering jewelry. But none of it touched her cold heart. As guests danced, Clara handed over the cake. "From a new bakery uptown. Everyone's talking about it." Agatha raised an eyebrow. "Cheap cake on my birthday. She picked up the note and read it. Her fingers stiffened. Eyes narrowed. She read it again, slower. "From the one you fired without looking back." A silence fell inside her. Amara, the maid, the broom girl. She tried to laugh. What a joke. That nobody. But something in her voice cracked. She rushed to her study and searched the bakery's name online. First page. Top article. Amara Eze. From maid to millionaire. The same girl she humiliated now owned one of the fastest growing food brands in the region. Madame Agatha slammed the tablet shut. A week later, Amara received an invitation. A luxury women's networking gala hosted at the Agatha estate. The irony made her smile. She RSVP'd, yes. She arrived in a custom emerald dress, skin glowing, calm, like royalty. No one recognized her, except the guards who once sneered at her. This time, they held the gate open. Inside, whispers started. "That's the Flameloaf founder. I heard she built everything from scratch." Agatha stood near the garden fountain, laughing until she turned and froze. Their eyes met. Agatha's voice caught in her throat. For a moment, her hand trembled. But Amara didn't break eye contact. She walked up slowly, extended her hand and said, "Madam Agatha, it's been a long time." Agatha forced a smile. "You've grown?" Amara smiled back. "Yes. Some of us grow better when buried." Arf. Agatha tried to keep her mask, but it slipped with every glance at Amara. Her posture, her confidence, her silence. The same girl she once ordered to kneel now walked through her garden like she owned the moonlight. Guests gathered around Amara. Some asked for advice, some offered partnerships, others just stared, stunned that someone from nowhere could rise like this. Agatha pulled Clara aside. "She can't humiliate me like this. Here, in my home." Clara whispered back, "She hasn't said a word against you. That's what makes it worse." Amara stood by the fountain, remembering how she once scrubbed its tiles on her knees. She turned toward Agatha again, calm as ever. "This garden looks smaller now," she said softly. "Perhaps because you finally outgrew it," Agatha muttered. But Amara only smiled. "No, I think it shrank the day you stopped looking down." Later that night, Amara stepped aside from the crowd and stood quietly near the same hallway where she'd once been fired. She ran her fingers along the marble wall. It used to feel cold and unreachable. Now it felt small, like a cage she'd escaped long ago. A young maid passed by, head down, eyes hollow. Amara gently touched her shoulder. "What's your name?" she asked. The girl whispered, "Chinello." "Do they treat you well, Chinello?" She hesitated, then shook her head slowly. Amara opened her purse, handed her a card. "Come see me tomorrow. We're hiring. And we treat people like people." That moment was louder than any revenge. No yelling, no payback. Just healing the system that once broke her. And as she walked past Agatha one last time, Amara said nothing. But her silence screamed. "You had power. I found purpose." 2 days later, Amara was invited to a live TV interview titled, "From Housemaid to Millionaire, the Face Behind Flame Loaf." Millions tuned in. Her photo lit up screens. Her story, raw and real, echoed in every home. The host asked, "If you could speak to the woman who once fired you, what would you say?" Amara looked at the camera, paused, then said, "I'd say thank you." She closed one door and accidentally opened 1,000. That night, her story trended everywhere. Articles, blogs, radio shows. Everyone wanted to know, who was Madam Agatha? And even though Amara never named her, people remembered. Former maids, old staff, neighbours. They started talking. Suddenly, Agatha's legacy began to crumble, not because Amara attacked it, but because truth finally had a voice. But Amara, she stayed calm. She had no interest in revenge. She was too busy building scholarships for housemaids across the country. Weeks passed. Agatha stopped appearing at social events. Her name, once respected, now met with silence. Investors pulled back. Her brand faded like perfume in the rain. Meanwhile, Amara launched the Maid Rising Fund, an initiative to sponsor training, housing, and business grants for underprivileged girls. The first girl to graduate? Chinello, the same maid from the gala. She opened her own pastry stall, naming it Amara's Fire. One morning, Amara returned to her childhood village. The same dusty road, the same bakery ruins where Mama Chica once gave her a chance. She stood there alone, eyes closed, wind brushing against her cheeks. She wasn't rich because of money. She was rich because she never let pain define her. And somewhere inside that silence, Mama Chica's voice echoed. Turn your name into something bigger. She had. Years later, people didn't just remember Amara as a millionaire. They remembered her as a quiet storm. A woman who rose without stepping on anyone, who answered cruelty with purpose, and who changed lives in silence. At the grand opening of the Amara Foundation Academy, a reporter asked her, "If you could go back and change that one day when you got fired, would you?" Amara looked around. Hundreds of girls sat in clean uniforms, holding books, not brooms. She smiled gently. No. Because sometimes rejection isn't the end. It's the invitation. The crowd applauded, the cameras flashed. But inside, Amara only thought of that broken vase. And how do you think Madame Agatha deserved to be publicly exposed? Or did Amara do the right thing by staying silent? Drop your thoughts in the comments. The debate begins now.